Now, I'm all for remakes, but when they end up like this, I don't know. Hey, what is up, guys? It is me, Anthony, here to give you guys another movie review. This time it is for the 2020 remake of The Witches. So I recently saw The Witches, and when I mean recently, I mean a year ago. I was finally introduced to the movie Witches, and I really enjoyed it. I was kind of surprised that I never even heard of the movie before then, because this is like a movie right up my alley. There's animatronics, it's a good story, it's a nice, fun family film that aged well over the years. So when I saw that there was going to be a remake to this film with Anne Hathaway as the main witch, and CGI was going to be a part of it, and it was going to be an HBO Max original, I had my doubts. And suffice to say that this is not good. This movie's not good. This remake's not good. Man, there's so much wrong with it. And it's a shame too, because like I said in the beginning of this review, I'm all fine with doing remakes and doing reboots and all that stuff if you just add stuff to the movie from the original and, you know, elevate it, make it better, or add new ideas. But I just feel like with most reboots and remakes, Hollywood just wants to do a quick cash grab. They know that people are familiar with the franchise or the property, and they just do a remake and don't put any effort into it and hope that hundreds of people that have nostalgia will just come here and they'll make their money back. But with this one, they do that here. But I just don't understand why they did it the way that they did. But let's get into this movie, guys. Let's get into The Witches remake. And as always, I'm going to give you the pros and the cons for this film, and let's start off with the positive. So you'll be surprised. You're like, Anthony, you're going to start off with the positive? What's this positive about this movie? And trust me, it was hard to find. It's hard to find some stuff that were good with the movie, but there is a few things. I wouldn't consider them big things, but there is some stuff in it. First thing is the soundtrack. I think they did a good soundtrack. Now, for this remake, you know, we jumped a little bit more back in time from the original one. So now we're in the 60s, early or late 50s, early 60s. And I think the soundtrack that they have for here is really good. You get to introduced, if you're not familiar with 60s music, you get to introduce to some pretty good classics. And I thought that was fine. And since we are in the 60s, they can introduce us to different locations, make it look a little bit different for the time. And I thought that was pretty cool. At least they could do something that was interesting, and that was one of them. And the last positive thing that I found in this film was, well, it's kind of hard for me to say it was a positive. I thought was a little interesting. Wish they delved a little bit deeper into it. Wish they, fleshed it out a little bit more. But we'll get to that in the cons. So yeah, guys, let's get into the cons. And this one, there's a lot of stuff in here that I want to talk about, but we'll be here forever. So I don't want to do that to you guys, but let's first talk off what I was talking about in the pros, and that is the story that we have here. There's little interesting bits that they have planted into this remake that I was like, okay, that's kind of interesting, but this movie really doesn't develop any of that stuff. They just plant little seeds, and then they're like, oh, this seems cool, doesn't it? And you're like, yeah, that's cool. We're not going to tell you any more information about that, so we're going to move on to the next thing. And I just thought that was just unfortunate, because like I've been saying, I sound like a broken record, this movie could have been something different, could have been something cool, could have been something interesting and new, but they just didn't want to do it. The changes that they did for this movie weren't significant at all, didn't really add anything to the story. I mean, particularly the end and the changes that they did to the witches, that alone was mind-boggling and weird, a weird choice that they did. And so let's talk about those witches. I don't think this is a spoiler, because if you've seen the original, you know that famous scene in there where they do the transformation and you see the witches for what they are. And this one, they have that exact same scene in here, which is good, because, you know, that's an iconic scene in it. But I don't know what went wrong when they were designing or coming up with the scene. Whose idea was it to say, let's make Anne Hathaway look like a mix between Vin Diesel and a xenomorph from Aliens, and we just combined it together. That's what we get here. And it's weird because it's not scary. You would think that description I gave you, Vin Diesel plus a xenomorph, that's scary. But we have Anne Hathaway. Bless her soul, she's trying so hard. I personally don't get all the flack that Anne Hathaway gets. I guess maybe If all I know, she could be really mean on set, and I don't think it's her fault. I don't think I want to say. I think it's more the script. But she's just. I don't think she was cast like well in this movie. She doesn't seem scary at all. I don't understand the pick. I don't understand the design. Maybe it's the design's fault. It just didn't work. And you would think if you're doing a remake to the movie called Witches and you looked at the original, I mean, look at this thing, and then we get this thing. They don't match together. One looks really creepy and the other one looks just laughable. Also, the ending is the most blatant, obvious cash grab that I've ever seen before in a movie, and I was kind of taken aback of how blunt they were, just saying like, hey, we want more money, guys, don't worry. Also, I don't know why I went like this for more money. That was just weird. I apologize. But yeah, I don't want to ruin it for you guys so you can see it for yourself, but that ending, yikes. But yeah, that's The Witches, the 2020 remake. Can this year be over already? But guys, let me know what you think of The Witches, the 2020 remake, and the original one in the comments down below. Do you like The Witches? Do you like this version? Do you like the old version? Do you want them to continue with this new version? Do you want them to stop doing remakes entirely? Let me know in the comments down below. But guys, don't forget to check out my Twitter so you can stay up to date with my channel. And as always, guys, keep watching movies.